Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your time today, to friends, colleagues, and everybody else who is going to become a new investor in our company. As Chrissy said, it's not too late to invest in Southern Cross. We were here, Jackson and the team held us here before we were listed in 2022, just this conference in 2022. We've grown from that time when we were about a 16 million seed capital company to 2.5 billion, and we've just started. This has gone from a hope and a dream to one of the most exciting gold discoveries globally, and now we're in pre-development. We're going underground. We've got lots of permits, as Chrissy mentioned, and we've got this strategic overlay with 20% of the in situ value coming from antimony, just enough to be perfect for permitting, not too much to be perfect from having 80% gold. 3 slides. We are dual listed here in Australia and also on the TSX in Canada, so I get those 3 slides to show you quickly. We have had a wonderful run because this is a key project. You make your money in this business by being a top quartile deposit going towards development, and when you meet one of these markets, that's why these projects work, and this is genuinely just the start. We're amazingly supported by a group of investors, some of the better known people in the business, Pierre Lassonde, who literally wrote the book on investing, Darren Morecambe and Kirill Sokolov, who own 20% or over 20%. That's a natural hedge. That's how this project's protected. They're not sellers. That's the smart money who wants us to build this, who've equipped us with the ability to go out and staff it and build it. So if you want one simple measure, follow the smart money. We've got a great group of institutions that have followed the story right across the world. As Ken mentioned, we're well supported through Europe and the US and Canada as well, being that global listing. And skin in the game. Directors have bought every one of those shares, and we're very much here to make it work. So where is the project? What is it? And I told you it's very good. I told you it's got gold and antimony. It's just out of Melbourne. We're 60 kilometres north of Melbourne here. Now that brings to mind perhaps suburbs and how the hell are they going to permit it. We've got 3,500 acres of freehold land. We've got kilometres to the south of this project where we're developing it now. So it's a unique little pocket. Being 60 kilometres from a major capital brings a whole lot of different ways to develop a project. Nobody ever told me in my career as a geologist that I could be home every night with my children and send my kids to a good school and come and go from a project. So we're attracting very good people for that. Waste rock is only waste rock in mining because it exists in the middle of nowhere. But being 60 kilometres from a capital city, it's a co-product, leads to lower footprint, etc. So there's some very good things that come from being close to a major centre, and there's some very good things that owning 3,500 acres or nearly 1,400 hectares brings with your own ownership and ability to work the project. We're only about 10% of the way through the discovery, so there's one very good reason this discovery is only going to get bigger and bigger. We're just at the start. We've got 11 drill rigs today on the project, and we're going to 24. So the news flow is going to increase. That will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, drill out globally on a pre-development project. We own the project 100% with only the state-based royalties. So I've really preempted this slide. Why is this a project you should keep an eye on? Well, it's probably the best hit rate globally. I can't see anything better in terms of the amount of gold that we're hitting per metre if you put it on any measure that you like around that. It's getting better at depth. These systems in Victoria, if you remember Fosterville, which this is an analogue of, got better at depth, and that's what we're doing. We've only hit one of our 5 different bodies has been drilled out with any ferocity at depth below 500 metres. So arguably 4 of the 5 deposits or areas that we're exploring haven't even seen the better parts of the system yet. Antimony, as I mentioned, is a key component. This is one of the key Western projects. in terms of inventory and will be a key part of building out the antimony supply chain in the Western world if governments really want it and if we really want to take on China at their own game. And we are building this. We've staffed it to build it. There's $123 million Aussie cash in this company, so we're well funded to execute on the plan, I'll tell you. This project's changing all the time. Like I said back 4 years ago, we were hopeful with a glint in our eye. Now we've had an exploration decline permitted. The work has started on that and we're going underground in June. That was approved in 4 months in Victoria. I'll tell you about Victoria, and Chrissy stole my thunder a little bit, but it's gone from the worst to the best jurisdiction in Australia. I'll give you the stats on that. We've been included in a lot of these indices now with the liquidity and the market cap. That brings us into a new realm, and getting big fast in this business is really important now with this passive buying that really is about 50% of the market these days. We've got lots of sell-side research. I covered that before, and getting more. Macquarie started its coverage only a few weeks ago, and keep your eye out for what I hope will be more than the 8 or so banks that are covering us today. And as I've mentioned, we're staffing to build this. So let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's kick it out the side of the room. Victoria is open for business. Everybody has an opinion about the past, but it's always about the question you ask at the right time and who you ask it to. But 4 mines have been permitted in Victoria over the last 18 months, 3 to final approvals and 1 very, very advanced. So what's changed? The Premier, Jacinta Allen, is the local member at Fosterville. Fosterville was the highest grade gold mine on earth, a top 10 producer, bought $10 billion in market cap appreciation, but it all came from the North American market. But it's made Bendigo, again, great, and Jacinta is the local member there. So she knows and understands what mining can do in terms of jobs, well-paid jobs, etc., and people home every night. So we've got now an EES cap. The major environmental instrument has been limited to 18 months. That's pretty good. We've got critical mineral zones. Critical Minerals has sanitised mining. Again, I've never had such support in my career for being in mining. In fact, I'm not in mining, I'm in critical minerals, aren't I? Because every mineral's critical. And then there's fast-track permitting also. This DFP, or Development Facilitation Program, is a 4-month permitting pathway, and that's been used in mines around us, and no doubt we're building a project under that as a stage 1 is our aim. Mentioned a little bit about antimony. There's only 20% of the mix, but just enough to be important, not enough to be fully exposed to the Chinese price deck in my view. So it is a gold project with a strategic overlay. You don't have a munitions supply chain without antimony. 90% of antimony comes from China, Russia and Tajikistan. And this is one of the top 3 projects in the Western world in terms of its endowment. The strategic reserve here in Australia was only legislated over the last month, and the 3 commodities are antimony, gallium, and the whole package of rare earths that they're focusing on. So we're putting a lot of work into that side of things. We see this as a way to lower our cost of capital. In terms of our plan, here's a $115 million budgeted program that we're undertaking. 11 rigs going to 24. This slide's even outdated. $60 million. So there's a lot happening. We've secured all those rigs to go to 24, and they'll be coming progressively as the year progresses, with it fully executed by year end, when the decline, which is a $30 million budget, is completed. A kilometre of development, and we've started the portal and all the surface work and going underground in June, as I mentioned. That drill program will lead to a maiden resource in Q1 next year, and we'll put the first technical studies together. You never want to forget regional exploration. I mentioned 90% of this project remains essentially unexplored beneath old mines that we drilled over here under, and we've got this whole trend left to explore. And so we're putting a quarter of our drill budget towards that regional exploration. In terms of the project, let's just have a quick look at it. We'll go underground with the verify. The green areas here are our freehold land, the 3.5, sorry, I know you've all had breakfast, 3,500 acres in this area. The main drill area is here, and this is the extension that we've got rigs on at the moment, but only a few thousand metres to date. If we go underground and have a look, I won't go into the detail of the geology with only a few minutes left, but this is what it looks like. The veins, mineralised veins, are the blue and the red, and there's over 100 of those. They start at surface and go down to 1 kilometre. This is 1 kilometre here. The grades here are just the very highest grades that you can see. The red is greater than 300 gram hits, greater than 90 gram hits are in orange. And you can start to see even just, I think with this image, that if you look at the cluster of the greater than 300 gram hits, it's something like a line like that you can see it gets better at about 400 or 500 metres depth. And that's the key area that we've explored here, but we're just starting to see these areas develop in these other 4 bodies. So we're just starting to see the areas we're drilling into. The yellow holes are those that are in the lab. There's something like 40 holes in the lab and being logged. So there's always news flow coming from Southern Cross, and you can see where we're starting to focus in those deeper areas. In terms of the layout, just to give you a bit of a look at it, the 1.4 kilometres that we've drilled is through here, and then if we turn around here, it goes to this way. You can absolutely see our neighbours to the north. There's something like 20 properties within 2 kilometres of sort of the 50 to 100 acre farms, and there's thankfully a natural hill that divides us. But the secret to this project is actually looking this way, and this is all our land as far as the eye can see, and that's 3,500 acres, and we can develop into these farmland areas that extend for kilometres through here, and that's exactly what we're doing. The next photo is here. The portal is starting here, and some of the dams and waste rock piles are being developed out here. And that's the photo here. So we can see the box cut, this was last week, is just starting to be formed. This is a 17 megalitre dam. There's a little, there's a big excavator that looks little at the back there, so that's quite the dam to deal with our water that we'll be pumping from the decline. In terms of the metallurgy, you always want to look at that. This is a simple flow sheet. It was mined for 50 years. These were mines for 50 years. In fact, I mean, I'm a bit of an advocate of history. We're really not doing nothing different than what happened 150 years ago in terms of what happened here. This mine, along with our peer at Costerfield, which 60 kilometres down the road, were the only mines that supplied the Allies during World War I for antimony. So we're really not doing anything new. The way it was mined is essentially they just mined at an ounce cut-off. Our cut-offs are a little lower these days, but in terms of the style and method, we're going to use mechanical methods, but their 20-metre sub-levels are pretty much what we're going to replicate today. And their flow sheet was gravity, and that's what 40 to 50% of our flow sheet is, and the rest of the gold comes out in flotation. Very similar to Costerfield up the road. There's lots of amazing people around this company, and I'm very humbled. Ian Smith has just joined the board. He is a true legend of our industry here. He built Newcrest as CEO into a top 3 gold major. He was CEO of Orica. He's fearless and fearsome and has added a new dimension to this project. And one other guy to call out is Ryan Osterberry, who built Costerfield down the road and operated it for 10 years, so he's here to do it again on our project. And follow the smart money. I mentioned Pierre and his team across the other side of the globe. Go and, you've all heard of the Lassonde curve. That's Pierre. He designed that, amongst many other things. So key catalysts in the last minute, we're going to update the exploration target. The last exploration target was 2.2 to 3.2 million ounces at between 8.6 and 10.2 grams gold equivalent. That is being updated. There's 59 kilometres of drilling that we've added since that last update last year. The decline will commence in June, maiden resource Q1 next year, and the maiden economic study after that in Q2. So why Southern Cross? Amazing discovery, one of the best Victoria is where lightning has struck twice with Fosterville and now this discovery. The strategic optionality, which means it's supported. Lots of exploration upside, only 10% of the way there. Despite itself, Victoria is permitting lots, fully funded, and a very aligned team of management and shareholders who focus on per share value. So I look forward to any questions that you may have at the booth. My colleagues are here, and here's Chrissy to wind me up. Thank you.